In fact, everything in the universe is simple, logical, and just. Remember what Confucius said? Life is really simple, but we insist on complicating it. The first law, cause and effect. Everything you do to others will come back to you. As the saying goes, what you sow is what you reap. This applies to both actions and thoughts. If you have offended someone, someone will offend you. If you have misappropriated someone else's property, theft, fraud, misrepresentation, etc., the same will happen to you. If you have murdered someone, you will also be murdered. As cruel as that sounds, it's true. And so on. This does not only work in a bad way, but also in a good way. You helped someone with money and money will come to you. You gave someone else a piece of happiness and happiness will come to you. And so on. All our actions and thoughts are energy that we send out into the universe. In the universe it is processed and returned to us in the form of similar actions and events. The action of this law is inevitable and the consequences will catch up with us even after centuries. A lot of people say, well, what's in it for me? I won't remember what I did in the next life. Yes, we are not given access to certain knowledge at birth, but to fill this gap we are given parents. And this is the fault of our parents, they do not explain to their children how this law works. They fill the child's mind with all kinds of rubbish, and the most important thing that will directly affect his life is not explained and not explained. And if we explain it to our children, as they say, with mother's milk, and act accordingly, then in a few generations wars and strife, poverty and misery will disappear from the earth. The second law. The law of materialization. The universe is a kind magician who materializes everything we want. If you want to be rich, you will be rich. If you want to be healthy, you'll be healthy. If you want to walk on water, you will walk on water. If you want to walk through walls, you will walk through walls. The universe will give you whatever you want. Of course, you may object, why do I want wealth and prosperity, but I get financial difficulties and problems, or I want to be healthy and full of vigor, but I do not come out of sick leave and I am completely exhausted. It doesn't add up. And now let's look at how much time you spend thinking about how to increase your income and how much time you spend dealing with your problems. Watch yourself every day for a month. And you will be surprised that more than 95 to 99% of all your free time is spent on anything but increasing your income. The same goes for your health. Where our attention is, our energy is. If we are constantly thinking about problems, our energy is working to multiply them. If we constantly think about increasing our income, our energy will work to increase our income. If we put our attention on improving our health, our energy will work on that too. And because our energy is connected to the energy of the universe, the whole universe will work for us. Banish thoughts of problems and failures. Think more about good things, about how wonderful your life is going to be. Picture yourself healthy and successful. Yes, at first it will only be a dream, but remember, wherever your attention is, that is where your energy is. And the universe will help you. The third law. The law of balance. The Creator intended that everything in the universe should develop harmoniously and that there should be no distortion in anything. Therefore, if something is diminished somewhere, something else is sure to take its place which will compensate the diminution, as they say, with more than enough. And if you lose something materially, do not hurry to get upset. The universe will compensate for everything, taking into account, as they say, lost profit. Or to put it simply, it was taken from you as payment for new opportunities to open up. We are often afraid to part with money or anything else to help someone, but to open up a new level in your life you have to sacrifice something. And to that we can only say, thank God for taking with money. And because we do not have the courage to do it ourselves, the universe pushes the course of events and compensates us for everything in the future. Why does it do this? Because everything we think we own is not really ours, it is rented. From our bodies to the coins in our pockets. It all belongs to the universe and it does as it pleases. We just have to take it for granted. The materiality of thought is not just images on photographic film. It is a power that can control many things. Material thought is a weapon and a power, said the scientist Gennady Krokalev. Almost half a century ago, the Soviet psychiatrist and scientist Gennady Krokalev's experiments confirmed the assumption that thought is material. The scientist said that with the help of his experiments it was possible to prove not only the fact that the brain radiates energy, but also the existence of the afterlife, immortality, and many other phenomena for which science could not find an explanation. In 1970, Gennady Krokalev's brother showed him an article published in the popular science magazine, Technics for Youth. In it, the physicist Valery Skurlatov suggested that visual hallucinations could be captured on photographic film. Gennady Krokalev was interested in this hypothesis. He wanted to confirm or deny it. At the time, Gennady Pavlovich was working in a psychiatric hospital. And in his practice he often encountered patients who had hallucinations. For 20 years, Krokalev experimented with photographing visual images and hallucinations. He used a camera and an underwater mask, the glass of which was darkened. In this way, the scientist created total darkness between the camera lens and the patient's face. As a result, Krokalev and his colleagues were able to photograph more than 100 visions. At the same time, the images on the photographs matched the patient's descriptions with remarkable accuracy. These experiments allowed Gennady Krokalev to hypothesize that nightmare visions are not a trick of the senses. Everything the patient saw during the experiments was real. Thus, Krokalev assumed that beyond the boundaries of our world there is another world in which people with mental disorders can look. And the images that the scientist obtained are the images of another world that have entered the human consciousness. In order to prove this assumption, Gennady Krokalev conducted new experiments. He placed his subjects in a room with a screen, where there were no electromagnetic waves. Inside the room, the hallucination stopped. And after leaving the room, the hallucinations returned. These experiments allowed Krokalev to suggest that visual hallucinations do not originate inside the person, but outside. He stated that the experiments in the screen room proved the existence of a world invisible to us, with negative energy. And this energy has a corresponding influence on a person. Krokalev carried out his experiments not only on sick people. Krokalev's colleagues also took part. The participants in the experiment were shown a photograph, which they looked at for no more than half a minute and then kept the image of the photograph in their minds. The photograph was taken with the same mask, and the photograph contained the image that the participant in the experiment had looked at. In 1977, Gennady Krokalev applied for a discovery based on the results of his experiments. However, the scientist's application was rejected on the grounds that the evidence was inconclusive. In the same year, Gennady Krokalev's first article, Photographing Mental Images, was published in a Japanese journal and caused a sensation. But soon the article was classified. After the publication of this article, Gennady Krokalev began to be invited to foreign scientific conferences, but the scientist was not allowed to leave the country. In our country, I was criticized and not printed in Soviet publications for 13 years, said the scientist. All because Gennady Krokalev's views did not fit the mold of official science and contradicted Lenin's doctrine of matter. At the end of his life, Krokalev was full of plans. He told his relatives that he had the results of hundreds of studies confirming the influence of psychic energy on reality. By psychic energy, the scientist meant attention. And where a person directs his attention from a certain angle, that is what happens in his life, Gennady Krokalev said. The scientist said he was on the verge of a discovery. He had no doubt that it would win him the Nobel Prize. What exactly the discovery was that was going to shock the scientific community and Gennady Krokalev remained a mystery. He died suddenly in 1998, and the archives containing the results of his latest research disappeared without a trace.